following is from a cooperative project for acquiring skills essential to learning.
October 22nd. Abuelita died this morning. I cried when Mom and Dad told me. I cried so much that I couldn't go with them to Aunt Rosie's. They told my brother to bring me over when I felt better. It's funny. It's not really like he was just my grandfather. It seems like he was part of me, or maybe I was part of him. June 23rd. Every summer we go out to spend time with Abuelito near the old Vasquez ranch. It's okay, usually, but this year I have to go by myself.
Cheer up, sis. You always have a good time when you go to Abuelito's.
But Ricky, you, Mom, and Dad have always been there too.
Yeah, well, we just can't this year. Besides, Dad's right in the middle of a job.
Well, what about you?
We'll have to worry about finals.
Then why couldn't Abuelito come to the city for a visit?
You know, Abuelito's already come down a lot this year to the city. He likes it out by the ranch anyway.
I don't know why. It's not his ranch. It's nobody's ranch anymore. It's owned by some big company.
Well, Abuelito feels very close to it. That's the way he is. Besides, I thought you liked it there, too.
I do, but there's really nothing to do except sit around and listen to Abuelito tell stories about old days on the ranch.
I'd pay a lot more attention to those stories if I were you. They're part of your culture.
My what?
Your culture, how you got to be you.
Well, I don't understand what that's supposed to mean. I got to be me by being born me, Linda Rose Martinez.
You're a lot more than just a name. You're a part of all that went before you. And it reminds me of a story. Get Abuelito to tell you about great-grandmother.
Which great-grandmother?
Great-grandmother Scott.
There's a lot of good stories about her.
She looks like an Indian. I mean, if she had braids and all.
She was an Indian. What's that, homework?
No, it's kind of like a journal that I keep. I write down stuff that happens and how I feel about it. Like a diary, I guess, except sometimes I write poetry in it, too.
Poetry? I'd like to read some of it.
Oh, gee, it's kind of personal stuff. Nothing against you, Abuelito. It's just I haven't let anybody read this yet.
Of course. Writing things down is a very important thing. Take that woman, your great-grandmother. If I had only written her name down, because I can't remember it anymore.
Her name was Mary McDonald Scott.
No. Speaking of a real name.
How many real names can a person have? I was always told her name was Scott.
Well, sure. She married a fellow named Scott. When she was a little girl, she lived with a family named McDonald. They called her Mary because they didn't want to use her Indian name. You see, in those days, a lot of people looked down on Indians.
Wasn't there anyone who can remember what her Indian name was?
No one that I know of.
That's awful. I mean, to have someone take away your name. It's almost like stealing, isn't it?
Well, at least she knew who she was. Ella siempre estaba orgullosa de ser los indios.
¿Sabe qué, abuelito? Ella me recuerda de alguien.
Oh, sí, es cierto. I know one thing. whatever her name was, it meant morning star. You see, in the old days, people were given names that connected them to the sky or the earth.
June 25th. It's the thing we always do. Abuelito drives out to the old ranch and gives a guided tour. It's hard to imagine what the old Spanish ranchos were like. Sometimes, though, when Abuelito tells the stories, I kind of see it. Sometimes I feel as though I'm a part of it.
Están las familias Velázquez, Olvera, Sepúlveda, los nietos.
Names. Names like Pico, Sepulveda, Verdugo. Names you only see on street signs now were once living people.
Salazar, Carrión.
The famous ones and the forgotten ones. Those whose names are remembered and those whose names are gone forever, like Morning Star. I never knew any of them, but still, somehow, I feel like I know them very well.
Families were linked together.
Is there a family tree or some kind of record of all this?
There's one in an old Bible I have. I don't know how complete it is.
Maybe I could do some research and bring it up to date.
That's a good idea. There's lots of members of the family who would like that. I remember the old days, almost all the My abuelito used sticks. My uncle was the first to use wire. I think I'm the first to use coat hangers. Take these thread spools, and you insert these wires right in the center,
And then?
and you hold your hands parallel, and you walk slowly forward, and when the wires cross, you'll find water.
Sure.
Well, try it.
Okay, I will. Pero me tienes que dar el sombrero.
¿Qué?
The hat. I have to have the official hat.
Muy bien.
Boy, is this dumb. Whoops.
What happened?
Well, they crossed.
Well, there's probably water there.
Maybe.
There's one way to find out.
How much further? I don't want to dig all night.
It's there.
I can't dig anymore. I hit something.
Water?
No, it's just a pipe.
Oh, what kind of a pipe?
Oh, I don't know. It's just some water pipe. Oh, come on, please. Tell me. How did you make him cross over the water pipe?
Yo no lo hice.
Entonces, ¿cómo se hace?
Eso ocurre naturalmente, Chiquita. Casi todo el tiempo.
But there has to be a reason for it.
I suppose there is, Chiquita. All I know is that it's always worked for me, like it has worked for my father and my abuelito, and his abuelito too, for all I know. And now it works for you. Just you wait and see. Someday you'll have kids of your own, and they won't believe you either.
June 29th. I realized something totally weird tonight. Abuelito had gone to bed, but I was still awake. I was working on a family tree.
Soledad Scott, whose parents were George Scott and Mary McDonald. Morning Star. Wow, I have her eyes.
Morning star's eyes. I walk with my grandfather over a sunlit rise, and I look at the land through morning star's eyes. I can reach back in time, it seems that way, and look at the people and hear what they say. The things they believed, if not true or not lies, all are seen clearly through morning star's eyes.
I see a lot of taking, but very little giving these days. Your great-grandmother told me that her mother would go about gathering food, but before she left, she would always leave a little something, like a blanket or a basket.
That's weird. Why?
Her people believed that if you took something out of the land, you had to put something back.
But a basket?
That's all she had. We lived by that rule, or tried to, when we were working this ranch.
I guess I sort of feel that way too. I belong to this club at school, and we have this new project. We're growing little saplings, trees, to replace each one that has been cut down.
It's the same thing.
No, this is conservation. It's a new idea.
No, it's an old idea.
The things they believed, if not true or not lies, all are seen clearly through morning star's eyes.
Hey, sis,
What?
how are you doing?
Okay. Mickey, do you think I look a little bit like Great-Grandma Scott?
A little. Through the eyes, maybe.
I think it's more than that. I feel like I knew her.
Well, you knew Abuelito, and he knew her. Someday you may have kids, and they'll know her too.
How?
Through you, and the stories you'll tell about her, and the stories Abuelito told you. That's the pattern.
It would be nice to have a name that meant something, like Morning Star.
You know, when you were born, Mom and Dad didn't name you. They brought Abuelito to the hospital to see his new granddaughter. And he looked through the glass at you, and do you know what he said?
What?
Que linda. How pretty. And that's how you got your name.
You mean Abuelito gave me my name?
Abuelito gave us a lot of things, babe. Mom and Dad just called, and we're going to meet him over at Aunt Rosie's.
Okay. I feel better now.
Thinkabout is supported by state and provincial agencies working through the Agency for Instructional Television. Together, serving education.